Welcome back, teachers, to another positive cinematic spotlight where we look at movies and cinema to find inspiration and encouragement for the teaching and education community. Well, it's October, and you know what that means: Halloween and horror movies. To kick off our horror theme for the month, I turn to a recent Academy Award nominated horror movie from director Jordan Peele. That's right, Jordan Peele, the comedian, brought us a horror with no comedy elements in it uh, back in 2017. The movie's called Get Out, starring Daniel Kaluuya. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce his last name, and Allison Williams. The film features an interracial couple, Chris and Rose, who go to visit Rose's family for the weekend. Despite Rose's assurances that everything would be okay, things did not remain for the young black man in rich suburbia. I debated about using the film because of that racial component. And I had seen comments about the film suggesting a divisive message about interracial couples, but I did my research. Always do your research. Jordan Peele described the film as a metaphor for the African American community in the United States and the mixed messages and hidden racial feelings behind smiling faces and compliments. Also, the source of inspiration for the film was not based on any of the racial interactions, but more on Daniel Kaluuya's character, Chris Wallace, and how he handles the difficult situation he finds himself in. Now, when you look at horror movies, there are certain expected tropes to be found. There's the unspoken and repressed hostility seen amongst a group of potential victims. Also, the main protagonist who may or may not be the survivor, depending on how the movie ends, tends to have a tortured backstory. I won't go into the specifics in case you haven't seen it and you're interested. I certainly recommend it. Um, Daniel Kaluuya deserved his Oscar nomination for the role of Chris Wallace, and the praise that the movie has seen overall is truly earned. But for the character of Chris Wallace, as a child, he experienced a traumatic event which continued to plague him in his young adulthood. He seems to be playing a college student or possibly recently out of college. In the climax of the film, Chris finds himself in a similar and parallel situation. As with every horror film, this is a moment where we sitting comfortably at home or in the theater, possibly eating buttered popcorn, um, beg and plead with the main character or with the character in question to do something else. Don't do that. Don't go in there. Keep running. Do something else. This is a bad idea. Every horror movie has that moment. We're like, don't go there. But true to horror movie protagonist form, Chris does what we and even he knows he shouldn't do. But unlike the typical horror movie protagonist trope, where we are left saying, why would she go into that cellar with the broken light bulb, without a flashlight, with her feet bare, to investigate a growling sound? Why would she do this? Well, she must be having a momentary lapse of common sense. Chris Wallace in the movie, the Chris Wallace's moment in Get Out is not a simple lapse of judgment or common sense. Chris's moment um, of doing what we know he shouldn't do is actually a sign of strength and personal growth. He basically relives his traumatic event from his youth, but makes the decision that he wishes he had made when he was younger. And in doing so, while he does complicate his escape from the situation, the dangerous and horrific situation he finds himself in, his willingness to confront his trauma and fears is a source of strength for him, a source of growth, and we can find encouragement and inspiration in that. See, after all, the teaching profession is not without its elements of fear. It's not a fear of life or death typically, um, but this year, of course, proves to be slightly different. This year, many of us are afraid of contracting COVID 19. We are afraid of seeing our students contract COVID 19. We are afraid of hearing about our students' parents contracting COVID 19 and the possible consequences of such spread of the illness. But even without that, many of us are afraid of losing our students, both academically and personally, due to increased virtual separation. We fear not being able to um, keep up with our pacing as we juggle traditional asynchronous and virtual lessons. But like Chris Wallace, we can confront these fears. We can confront these fears and not let them overwhelm us. Guaranteed, every teacher who escape, I will guarantee that every teacher who escapes the 2020-2021 school year to return to the 2021-2022 sequel school year next year will be stronger and similar to Chris. And while similar to Chris, not every choice may lead to success. As long as we refuse to give up and keep fighting to provide academically enriching and socio-emotional supporting lessons and interactions, we will grow and become stronger, more adept teachers. If you're teaching and you feel yourself getting overwhelmed and you feel like some ephemeral voice is telling you to get out, steel your resolve and hear instead, get up. Thank you for being your best. Thank you for all that you do. And thank you for continuing to get up to provide for the needs of our students.